Hello everyone, what is cracking on this fine Wednesday that we'd find ourselves struggling through, powering through on our endless turmoil towards the heat death of the universe. Today we will be revisiting another episode. We will be visiting Crimson Tower for another edge of the seat thrill ride of an episode, in which we'll actually be building a thrill ride, so it's not a completely dry, sarcastic intro, it is somewhat descriptive. And what better way to start a thrill ride of an episode than with some tree planting, because, you know, we've got to save the world. How are we meant to have these exciting journeys if there's no world to have it in? You know, the environment is an important thing. That's why I've built a lot of trees. I've placed a lot of trees around this theme park. We could do some ground painting as well. But yes, hello, welcome to this episode of Crimson Tower, and like I said, we're going to be building a thrill ride, or to be specific, a roller coaster. My gosh, we've been building a lot of roller coasters recently, haven't we, in this series? And there's going to be another roller coaster coming up. Well, I mean, last episode we didn't build a roller coaster, but we built a hotel, and that's cool, right? Everyone likes hotels. Yes, and you can see it there in the background. So if you've not seen that episode, don't bother. It's there. It's not a very good episode. No, I think it's good. So, this isn't that. I started building the roller coaster on this side of the river or the lake where this bridge is, but I realised I ran out of room quite fast, so I ended up sort of moving it across the water to the other side, where there's where there's that massive empty space that would be a really good place to build a ride. That's where I ended up moving this to. So it's kind of a weird layout in a way. It starts out being quite compact and sort of twisty-turny, tightly woven together. And then it suddenly becomes rather sprawling, as I suddenly had a lot more real estate to work with. It's not something... Yeah, that's it. So, like standard fare with my rides at this point, we're not really using many custom inversion pieces. We're going to be using mainly the stock inversion pieces, just because every time I try and make my own inversions, they just end up feeling a little bit janky, a little bit rough, and even the best builders out there, like... the best at the best... They are pretty close to as smooth as stock, as in the pre-built pieces, like Variable Gaming. As always, his skills at building roller coasters always continue to elude me, but yeah, he can make pretty smooth inversions. I'm not patient enough, or talented enough to emulate that kind of style. We're just going to go ahead with stock pieces. But I feel like there's a somewhat level of creativity required to make roller coaster layouts anyway, so... I have that going for me anyway. So there we are. That's this roller coaster, and that's pretty much the layout finished, actually. I tried sort of utilising a bit more space here, but I thought, we'll move it across the water and really allow this thing some room to breathe. And there we go, moving it across. So, yeah, that's pretty much this ride. Usually the hallmark of this series is how rambly it is, and now the... air quotes exciting part of the video is finished, as in, the construction of the roller coaster. A lot of people are going to be clicking off now. That's fine. I guess you could just it's not finished yet, but I think you can pretty much figure out how this is going to go now. But, if you want to just watch the POV, you can just skip to the end. I would advise against that, because there are twists and there are turns, not only in this roller coaster, but there are twists and there are turns throughout this commentary. For example... I had a pretty stressful day today, and I need the ad money to keep me... No, I don't. It's nice. I don't need it. Don't worry, I'm not starving. Speaking of, would you like to donate to my Patreon? Patreon.com/MattLowne. I think. Don't actually know my Patreon URL. Not important. Let's move on. I did have a stressful day today. I had a crash. I had a car crash. I know. I don't know. People shocked. it was very low speed. I would say probably it happened at 3 miles an hour. My car is fine. I'm fine. It's completely superficial damage. But basically, it was like a merge point. It was like a zipper. So for those that don't know how merges work, I'm guessing most of you are like 9, according to YouTube analytics and general anecdotal evidence, whatever. The way, especially in England, most of you are American. 35% of you are American, according to analytics again. Might not mean anything. With America obviously representing the largest demographic by far. The way this works, there's a big roundabout on the roadwork. It's like a triple level thing. There's a big dual carriageway, then a roundabout, then another dual carriageway above the roundabout. It's a very complicated setup. So the roundabout itself is a cluster cluck. And so I was on the... It's a big roundabout, and the way I need to use this roundabout, I come in come around it, and then have to get up onto the upper dual carriageway. So there's like a sort of 2-lane slip road. But just as you come onto the upper level, the slip road merges into one lane, if that makes sense, as opposed to being 2 lanes. But at rush hour, literally everyone is moving at 2 miles an hour up this road. Anyway, the car in front of me merged into the left-hand lane before the slip road. Like, we were on the roundabout, and he merged over at the roundabout. And I was like, what are you doing? If you merge before the merge, you're just creating more congestion, because now I have to stop because you've stopped, and the other lane has to stop to let you in. If you just carry on to the merge point, no one needs to stop, and traffic keeps moving. So as he was moving across, me and the car behind me both drove around him, and I think from the colourful gestures he then threw at us, he was dissatisfied with us and wanted us to merge at the point where you're not supposed to merge as well. I don't know. Let's not be too judgmental on this imbecile. So anyway, we started crawling up, and at this point we were kind of getting to the top, and at this point I started to merge. There was a gap on my left. I have to merge into the left hand. Well, I mean, both lanes merge together. So the idea with a zipper merge point is that, it's one car from each lane. That's the rule. It's not the law, but that's the unwritten rule. Everyone knows this. So the car in front of me went in, and then I allowed one of the cars in the left-hand lane to pass me. So then it was kind of like one from my lane, one from their lane. Then I started to merge into the gap, and I looked in my mirror, and the guy that merged early was starting to rev up right up close. He was basically trying to close the gap, but I had already started to fill the gap. So he ended up just hitting my car, and I'm just like, what are you doing? So obviously I beeped my horn to alert him that I was there, as that's what the horn is for. And so I obviously stopped moving at that point because I didn't want any damage to actually be done to my car. My car's old. It's 22 years old. I can't get replacement parts. If it breaks, that's just it written off. So I stopped, and then he just sort of swerved around me and drove off. And I'm like, oh, so that's a hit and run. So I had to, I don't know why I'm laughing. I'm really annoyed about it still. I had to phone the police, and then I lost my lunch break. I had to go down to the police station to fill out a form, and I had to get back, and I had one of the busiest pediatric clinics I've ever had to have. In fact, yesterday and today was very busy, but that's another thing entirely. And then now I have to phone my insurance company, and we don't know what his insurance company is because he drove away. And so at least, I mean, it's pretty much, even if I was at fault, which I'm not, but even if I was, I mean, he's failed to stop at an accident, which is against the law in the UK. So he's now I can prosecute. So if the insurance companies are hashing it out, at this point, it's pretty highly swung in my favour. And my friend was in the car. He was a witness. So he snapped some photos of the plates as well. So I don't know what to do. But that's kind of, well, I mean, I know exactly what to do. I've just let the police deal with it. But it's just annoying. It's just another thing I now have to deal with. I've got to make commentaries to entertain you people. And don't worry, that's not a burden. And then I got to start worrying about Kerbal Space Program this Saturday. I still don't know what the video is going to be. I think probably Blunderbirds, because I am completely void of ideas right now. I'm not actually, but I'm very void of time to execute said ideas. I have a lot of ideas. I've been working on a this is supposed to be a Blunderbirds episode. Basically, there was some Kerbals stranded in Eve's Ocean. So Eve Ocean is something I want to visit in the Blunderbirds, because Eve Ocean is, without a shadow of a doubt, the single hardest place to rescue Kerbals. First of all, you can't use a rover to transport them from the stranded vessel to the rescue ship because there's water, so they'd have to swim. So you have to park very, very close. I mean, I guess you could use a propeller-powered boat. That's probably what I would have done, to be honest. So let's just skip past this. Either way, a propeller-powered boat, I think we'd all agree, is harder than a rover. But other than that, also, Eve sea level is a much, much taller order than just Eve from like a kilometer above the ground. Or like, these lightweight Eve missions, they all start on a mountain that's 7 kilometers above the ground, which is hugely, hugely easier. I mean, it's not easy, but it's much easier than sea level. With Eve, there are 2 weight classes to an Eve lander. There is an Eve lander, and then there is an Eve sea level lander. Like sea level, like below 1 kilometer on Eve's surface is just insane how thick the atmosphere is. So the fact that it's hard to pinpoint your landing and get it close to the stranded vessel, the fact that it's at sea level, the fact that the ship lander would have to be able to float in water, stay upright, remain buoyant, and survive impact, which is actually harder, I find, than making it land on land. It would have been very difficult. And coupled with the fact that the lander in question that was stranded had four Kerbals on board. And, I wanted Jeb to be able to go down and sort of courier them. So I would have had to design the ship to land and return 5 Kerbals from Eve sea level. However, a spanner was thrown into the works because the guy's save file had, literally, I'm not exaggerating because I've counted 10 billion mods installed. And, it got to the point where I couldn't get it to work at all. I had to get him to send me his entire save, game data folder. And I finally got it working. But the problem is he has so many life support mods and things that need to be running in order for his lander to be spawned in. I just can't design my Blunderbird ship without it having to have loads and loads of modded components on it in order for it to work. So I'm thinking about just not making it a Blunderbird. I haven't told the guy yet, so hopefully this... Hi! It's if this is the first time you're hearing of this, I'm thinking about just sort of forgetting the Blunderbird's component and just showing off the 4 Kerbal ocean lander, which in and of itself is a pretty hard thing to do anyway, and then just doing because basically I like to keep Blunderbird stock as it is because it's sort of there to serve as a semi-tutorial, and if people have Kerbal stranded in similar situations, they could just download the craft if they want to and use it. If I'm using modded parts, first of all, a lot of his mods change the atmospheres and engine performance, so it'd be a real headache to figure out if what I'm doing is actually possible in the stock game as it is, and also the fact that, it would have to contain so many modded parts, it wouldn't work in stock installs. It's not what I want. It's not what I want from Blunderbird. So, maybe one day, it's only a matter of time, let's face it, before someone else strands a Kerbal on Eve. So we'll just wait it out till then. In the interim, between me getting that Eve video done, there is another Blunderbird thing. Someone sent me a save file, so I can just totally go and film this after recording this commentary if I wasn't incredibly lazy. And that is a Juna landing. So Juna... I kind of regret the approach I took with Mun and Juna. I kind of use it as an excuse to show off my, elite skills with a Z by making the missions SSTO, which, is not that hard for experienced players at this point, but people that need to be rescuing Kerbals from Juna and Mun probably aren't quite as experienced or adept as the game. Making them fly a 20-seat capacity SSTO to Juna and back, probably not the best. It's probably floating them a little bit past the deep end and, over a waterfall. So I'm going to redo at least the Mun and Juna, probably Minmus as well, because Minmus I used an SSTO. I really need to start muting my phone in these videos, don't I? Whatever. One take Planet Coaster. That's the rule that I've made up just now. Just because it's not. I want to make a sort of Blunderbirds episode that's a bit more sort of emulatable. Is that a word? Emulatable, easy to replicate for a beginner standpoint, and maybe kind of make them a bit more tutorial-y. Although speaking of making videos that are tutorial-y, in my last Kerbal video, sorry, I'm talking about Kerbal Space Program again in my Planet Coaster series. I'll finish off quite quickly and talk about this ride that I've kind of skipped over, the entire construction of these buildings. That was pretty much it. Yeah, speaking of tutorialing, in my latest Kerbal video, I said I was going to make a new save file, which would require me, unlocking the tech tree again. So I think making kind of a mini series, we're talking 2 or 3 episodes tops, in which I unlock the entire tech tree. I can kind of discuss tips and tricks as we go along. I haven't really thought about the best format, but I should probably think about what format I want, because I need to have a full tech tree at some point. So I should probably get that out and done. But yeah, that would be something to do. But let's not talk about Kerbal anymore. I can talk about that in Saturday's video, hopefully, if that comes out. I quite like the way this came out in the end. Colour scheme-wise, there's a theme park, or at least I should say there was a theme park in the UK called American Adventure, and there was a ride called the JCB roller coaster that I was terrified of as a child. And I don't know why. I know why, because I was a pathetic child, but for a layperson, it was a very tame ride. It had 2 loop-the-loops, but that's about all it had going for it. But it had this kind of grey and yellow colour scheme that I still think looked quite cool. So, maybe I've got it completely wrong and I'm just misremembering it. But at some point, I thought it was grey and yellow. And in doing so, also thought that looked cool. So I went with that this time. And the stations, just kind of winged it. I built the big box. Let's just add an archway flare design to it, I guess. I'm quite happy with the way it came out, actually. Kind of a little bit more different to the standard box building affairs that I tend to build. Most Planet Coaster YouTubers, they have like really intricately designed buildings. So this is kind of the beginning of my path to making slightly higher effort to station buildings. And you can see I've kind of got the transfer track again, as it normally goes now in my roller coaster builds. We have a separate roller coaster that's sort of dressed up to look like that's the maintenance shed, although sadly that's not actually a thing in Planet Coaster, so there we go, that's that done. Tell you what, I did really like, you can kind of see it there, that loop that goes over the lift hill. I didn't really intend to do that, I just kind of placed the stock part and realised it nicely looped over the lift hill. I thought that's kind of a cool feature. But you can see, fenced off all the bits that come too close to the ground for comfort, then just put some trees, rocks, earth painting, just to sort of make it a little bit more authentic. And that's pretty much it. That's pretty much that layout done. So I quite like the way this came out. Like I say, colour scheme-wise, inspired by JCB Ride. The layout itself, to my knowledge, doesn't really replicate anything in reality. I mean, obviously, it will inevitably look a little bit like something, but I didn't. All similarities are purely coincidental. You are seeing a work of fiction right here, just in case anyone tries to sue me. A real possibility. But yeah, that's that. Now I had a lot of comments on my last video telling me to be quiet over the POVs, so maybe I should be quiet. Okay, fine, I'll be quiet. And you guys, I mean, there's a lift hill, right? There's that lovely little loop going over, and you can see we've got this walkway here. Lovely clouds in the sky, and now we're at the top. I will be quiet for the rest of it. I mean, I'll be back, right? This isn't the end of my commentary for the video, but I'll be back at the end of the POV, right? Yeah? Okay. Okay, so there we go. That was that. That's pretty much it, actually. I said I was going to be coming back, but I don't actually have anything to add that hasn't already been, shown. Lovely little shot there. I guess we can do some cinematic showings, a cinematic ground view, so you can kind of get a sense of scale. Because sometimes it feels like you don't really get an impression of how big these things are until you're at ground level and you see it. So there you go. There it is from kind of a guest perspective. And there's obviously the final corner now. And that pretty much wraps this episode up. So I don't know what the next episode is actually going to be. I think it might be another roller coaster. I know. How crazy would that be? I spoil you guys. But no, I'm pretty sure it's another roller coaster, an Intamin launched one. So look forward to that. If it is that, if it's not that, I'm sorry. There will be another roller coaster in this series at some point. So, if it's not next time, you can look forward to it, but I'm pretty sure it's next time. So that's it. In case you couldn't see on screen, there is a link to the full playlist and my channel, obviously. And yes, if you liked this, you can leave a like or comment or something. Or you could follow me on Twitter as well. That's another thing. Or you could join my Discord. There are so many possibilities. What a time to be alive.